Greetings to the honorable educators and my fellow debates. I'm Larasati Giftay Sharifado, and I'm one of the representatives from SMIN Satu Suko. And here I'll be delving into the depth of analysis on taking the concerns on school bullying and how exactly the proper and yet effective solution to get out of this problem will then lead into a much more well-functioning place for students in pursuing their education when it becomes even more positive and also inclusive. Now, a school becomes a place that is filled with such notable knowledges, and also it plays the role as an environment that belongs to a group of students that have the sense of belonging into a certain community. But then in the stage of growing up from these students, they will then encounter some of these different experiences coming from their own ways of living their life, and will then lead into them shaping their own characters. Now, in the process of them shaping these characters themselves, they will get into the process of interacting between one student to another. Now, once these students know exactly what to do and what to actually interact with, how to interact with other people, they will then get into the state of mind where interaction becomes very important. But what happens if that these students actually have to get into the problems of deviating from the whole values that needs to be deeply rooted inside of the needs for exploring their talents, but instead they took these potentials, they took the wrong way in the way that they actually focus on things that actually put more of the negative impacts towards their own life and towards the people's life, towards the other people's lives that would not actually create much more of a positive growth. Now, there comes the urgency as how there are several stakeholders that own concern to the problem of bully to overexpand in the school communities. Now, an unserious action on taking further notice through not actually seeing expelling perpetrators as something necessary will then potentially create such negative culture to the whole environment for the school, and builds in an environment that wouldn't promote peace and feeling of solidarity among students. Now, I am standing upon the stance that keeping the perpetrators hold on to their own actions and seeing it as something that they need to follow the consequences as the things that they did, and also holding them responsible as a result of the things that they have actually done in the very first place, will then lead them into shaping much more of an improved personality, as how these expelling would be an effective way of finding the solution out of the problem in school bully. Now, the goals is that to break the cycle of discrimination and also creating a safe place that is away from threats in school. Now, there are actually several things that I would want to talk about in this debate. Firstly, talking about the perpetrators. Now, expelling them would not actually stop or hinder the way that they actually do more of the explorations or improving their own self in the very first place, but rather it will give them a matter of thought in which they actually realize and put the recognition towards their action and not underestimating their own actions. Now, if then the expelling is not getting into the reality, that it will become a culture that lasts and gets inherited to the juniors, and not being expelled will be the whole potential for them in finding the other ways to not get caught, which actually lead into a much more serious and dangerous situation that will not put the school in a safe environment. Now, it is to actually minimize the deterrence effect if then these expelling wouldn't get into the reality. Now, secondly, talking about the victim, these are the people who get the psychological effects, who get the lowest self-esteem, and also get hindered education and development through the process of them getting bullied, getting all these threats coming from the bully that actually don't really see that the impacts that they have actually done put a very great impact towards how they live their life. And thirdly, talking about the school, not expelling perpetrators will make school look like they are not responsible and not standing on the ground to actually become very responsible towards what their roles are. Now, it will then actually help the school to improve their education if expelling these bullies will then come into the reality, since then it will then help the school to create a well-functioning environment for the education to further established. And lastly, talking about the parents of these victims, they will actually get the more protection as how they provide the welfare need for the kids or for the students or for their own kids that actually get into the school. They will get this protection that is needed out of the bullies, and it can be actually gathered from the process of expelling. And for that, I'm very proud to actually propose to the motion. Thank you.